Black Janitor whispered to Universe, "Send my soulmate now." Stunning Billionaire CEO appeared. That exact second, breath left both. The prayer left his lips at exactly 11:47 p.m., whispered into the empty marble lobby of Hartwell Financial Tower in downtown Chicago. 26-year-old Elijah Brooks pushed his cleaning cart past floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan, the city lights blurring through glass he'd just polished. "Universe, I'm ready now," he murmured, pulling off his work gloves. "Send my soulmate. Tonight. Right now." He laughed at himself, a man in a Navy janitor's uniform talking to the cosmos like it kept office hours. The elevator dinged. Elijah's heart stopped. The doors slid open, and she stepped out. 29-year-old Vivienne Hartwell, billionaire CEO of the building that bore her family name. Platinum blonde hair falling past shoulders, wrapped in a cream Chanel coat worth more than Elijah's annual salary. She froze mid-step, emerald eyes locking with his brown ones. The air between them actually shimmered, or maybe that was the reflection off her diamond earrings. But something fundamental shifted in that marble lobby. Neither breathed for 3 full seconds. Vivienne started, her usual boardroom confidence evaporating. Her leather briefcase slipped from manicured fingers, contents scattering across the floor Elijah had buffed to mirror shine an hour ago. "I got it," Elijah said, kneeling quickly to gather financial reports and a gold Mont Blanc pen. Their hands touched, reaching for the same document. Electric. Undeniable. Terrifying. Vivienne pulled back like she'd been burned, snatching the papers. "Thank you," she managed, her voice shakier than it had ever been during billion-dollar negotiations. She looked at him, really looked, taking in his name tag, his kind face, the gentleness in how he handled her things. Something in her chest cracked open. "You're welcome, ma'am." Elijah stood, suddenly aware of the class canyon between them. She smelled like expensive perfume and old money. He probably smelled like pine sol and effort. "Do you work here every night?" Vivienne asked, and immediately hated how that sounded, like she was some entitled heiress who didn't know her own employees, which, technically, she was. "5 nights a week," Elijah said, gripping his cart handle. "Third shift, quieter that way." Vivienne nodded, unable to explain why she couldn't stop staring at this man, why her pulse raced, why she wanted to know everything about him. She'd been raised in Greenwich, Connecticut mansions, educated at Wharton, groomed to marry within her tax bracket. Her mother would die if she knew Vivienne's heart was currently doing gymnastics over the night janitor. "Well, good night." Vivienne walked toward the executive elevator, heels clicking. She pressed the button, then glanced back. Elijah was watching her with something that looked like wonder mixed with resignation. Like he'd just seen a shooting star he could never touch. The elevator arrived. She stepped in. The doors closed. Both of them stood frozen in their separate spaces, trying to remember how to breathe normally again. "CTA, hello, the Shade of Love family. So happy you're here. Before we jump into the next part of the story, tell us, where are you watching from? Drop your country and state in the comments. Also, how's the story been so far? We love reading your thoughts. Yes, every single comment. And it really keeps us motivated. Let's aim for 50 comments on this video. Think we can hit it? Your support means the world, so don't forget to comment, share, and keep the energy flowing. Vivienne sat in her penthouse suite, 60 floors above the lobby, unable to focus on the acquisition reports spread across her glass desk. The Chicago skyline glittered outside floor-to-ceiling windows, but all she could see was Elijah's face. She called her best friend, 30-year-old Harper Lexington, whose family owned half of Boston's financial district. "I'm losing my mind," Vivienne said, pacing her marble floors barefoot, coat discarded over an $8,000 Italian sofa. "What happened?" Harper's voice came through crystal clear on speakerphone. "I met someone, in my lobby. Tonight." Vivienne paused, knowing how this would sound. "The night janitor." Silence stretched for 5 seconds. Then Harper laughed. Not cruel, but confused. "Viv, honey, you're exhausted. When's the last time you actually dated someone? Your standards are so high. I know how this sounds. Vivienne interrupted, staring at her reflection in the window. Blonde, polished, perfect. Everything her parents had engineered. But Harper, I felt something. Like the universe aligned. The universe? Harper's tone shifted, more serious now. Listen to yourself. You're Vivienne Hartwell. Your great-grandfather built Chicago's financial sector. You can't just feel things for people who clean floors. That's not how our world works. Vivienne's jaw tightened. Our world. The exclusive clubs, the charity galas where everyone had trust funds and summer homes in the Hamptons. She'd never questioned it before. Never had reason to. What if I don't care about our world? The words surprised even her. Then you're having a breakdown, Harper said gently. Viv, I love you, but be realistic. What would you even have in common with him? He probably didn't go to college. Probably lives in some tiny apartment in... Where do people like that live? You'd have nothing to talk about. People like that. The phrase made Vivienne's stomach turn. She thought about Elijah's eyes, how they'd held intelligence and depth, and something she'd never seen in the venture capitalists and hedge fund managers her parents paraded through their lives. You're right, Vivienne lied, needing to end the conversation. I'm just tired. After hanging up, she stood at the window for an hour, watching the city breathe below. Her reflection showed a woman who'd never struggled for anything, never questioned whether she deserved her penthouse view. Somewhere 60 floors down, Elijah was probably emptying trash cans, mopping floors, working through the night for wages that wouldn't cover her monthly shoe budget. Harper's voice echoed in her head. People like that. Vivienne touched the window glass, cold against her palm. Maybe Harper was right. Maybe this was just exhaustion, loneliness masquerading as connection. But her racing heart suggested otherwise. Her heart suggested she'd just met someone who mattered, someone who'd permanently altered her carefully controlled universe. And that terrified her more than any business decision ever had. 3 days later, Vivienne hosted an executive luncheon at Marchand, Chicago's most exclusive restaurant, where reservations required 3 months' notice and a trust fund to afford the tasting menu. She sat at the head of a table of 8, fellow CEOs, investors, old money talking to older money. 27-year-old Bryce Kensington, a private equity heir she'd known since childhood, sat to her right. Did you hear about the Riverside project? Asked 52-year-old Gerald Whitmore, gesturing with his wine glass. The city's trying to build affordable housing in Lincoln Park. Can you imagine? That neighborhood's property values will tank. It's economically irresponsible, Vivienne heard herself say, the words automatic, taut. Lincoln Park has a certain character. Mixing income levels disrupts established communities. Exactly, Bryce agreed, touching her arm with familiar entitlement. My mother's on the zoning board. We're fighting it. These people need to understand. Not every neighborhood is meant for everyone. These people. Vivienne's fork paused halfway to her mouth. She pictured Elijah, wondered where he lived, whether he'd ever been priced out of neighborhoods by people exactly like those sitting at this table. Vivienne? Bryce prompted. You agree, right? Your family's been protecting Chicago's elite districts for generations. Of course, she said smoothly, taking a sip of $200 wine. But something felt wrong, like she was wearing clothes that no longer fit. The waiter arrived, a young black man around Elijah's age, maybe 25, polite smile fixed in place. May I refill your water, Ms. Hartwell? Please, Vivienne said without looking at him. Standard practice. Service staff were background, invisible, functional. She'd never questioned it before. But as the waiter poured, she noticed his hands trembling slightly. Noticed the way he kept his eyes down. Subservient, careful. Noticed how everyone at her table talked through him like he didn't exist, their conversation flowing over and around his presence without pause. And that's why I told my assistant to start screening calls better, 38-year-old Monica Ashford was saying, dabbing her lips with linen. I don't have time for people who can't afford our services. If they have to ask about payment plans, they're not our demographic. Laughter rippled around the table. Vivienne's smile felt plastic. The waiter finished pouring, murmured, "Enjoy your meal," and disappeared. Vivienne watched him weave between tables, professional and nearly invisible, and suddenly saw Elijah in his place. saw how her world treated people whose labor kept their buildings clean, their meals served, their privilege maintained. "Viv, you're quiet today," Bryce observed, leaning closer. "Everything okay?" "Fine," she lied, pushing arugula around her plate. Just thinking about the quarterly reports. But she wasn't. She was thinking about how easily she'd said these people, how naturally superiority rolled off her tongue, how 3 days ago her heart had recognized someone her training told her to dismiss, and how sitting in this restaurant, surrounded by her own kind, felt lonelier than standing in that empty lobby, looking into Elijah Brooks's honest eyes. Friday night, 11:52 p.m. Vivienne told herself she'd stayed late for work, told herself the fact that Elijah's shift started at 11 was pure coincidence. She stood near the lobby coffee bar, installed for executives who worked late, pretending to scroll through her phone. The elevator dinged. Elijah emerged with his cart, freezing when he saw her. "Miss Hartwell," he said carefully, professional, but his eyes showed recognition of what had passed between them 5 nights ago. "Vivienne," she corrected, surprising herself. "Please, Vivienne." Her name and his voice did something to her equilibrium. "Working late?" "I own the building," she said, then immediately cringed at how that sounded. "Entitled. Superior. Everything Harper would approve of. I mean, yes. Busy week." Elijah nodded, began emptying a trash bin near the security desk. 24-year-old Marcus Webb, the night guard, watched them with barely concealed interest. "Can I ask you something?" Vivienne blurted before courage failed. Did you feel what I felt? That night?" Elijah's hands stilled on the trash bag. He looked at her fully now, and she saw conflict war across his features. "You're a billionaire CEO. I clean your floors. What I felt doesn't matter." "Why not?" The question came out sharper than intended. "Because," Elijah set down the trash bag, wiping his hands on his uniform. "You're going to go upstairs to your penthouse. I'm going to finish my shift and take 2 buses back to my studio apartment in Pilsen. Tomorrow you'll have brunch with people who summer in the Hamptons. I'll be at my second job at the bookstore in Wicker Park. We live on different planets, Vivienne." "That doesn't answer my question." She stepped closer, acutely aware of Marcus pretending not to listen. "Did you feel it?" Elijah's laugh was quiet, almost bitter. "Yeah, I felt it. Felt it so hard I've spent 5 nights replaying 10 seconds in my head. Felt it enough that I actually looked you up, saw your Forbes profile, your family history, your net worth. Felt it enough to know I should stay far away from you." "Why?" Vivienne demanded, something cracking open in her chest. "Because your world eats people like me for breakfast." Elijah's voice rose slightly. Then he checked himself, glancing at Marcus. Lower, more controlled. "I've seen how your friends look at service staff. I've heard the conversations in elevators when people think I'm invisible. I know what I am to people like you. Background noise, someone to keep the marble shiny while you make decisions that actually matter." The words hit like physical blows. "That's not fair." "Isn't it?" Elijah challenged, those brown eyes burning now. "Tell me, Vivienne, when's the last time you actually saw someone like me? Really saw us? We keep your buildings clean, serve your food, drive your cars. But do we matter to you? Did I matter before our hands touched?" Silence stretched between them, broken only by the lobby fountain's quiet burble and Marcus's embarrassed cough. "You matter now," Vivienne whispered. "For how long?" Elijah asked, and the vulnerability in his voice destroyed her. "Until your friends remind you who you are? Until your family explains what's appropriate? I can't be someone's rebellious phase, Vivienne. I can't be the story you tell at parties about that time you almost dated the janitor." He grabbed his cart, walked away toward the West Wing, leaving Vivienne standing alone by the coffee bar with tears she didn't know she'd been crying sliding down her perfect face. Vivienne didn't sleep that night. She sat in her penthouse, replaying Elijah's words until they'd carved grooves in her brain. "Your world eats people like me for breakfast." She thought about the luncheon, how easily she'd participated in conversations that dismissed entire communities, how naturally superiority had flavored her words. Saturday morning, her mother called. 62-year-old Catherine Hartwell didn't believe in pleasantries. "Harper mentioned you seemed distracted lately. Everything all right with the Midwest expansion?" "Fine, Mother." Vivienne stood at her window, watching Chicago wake below. "Because your father and I didn't raise you to lose focus. The Hartwell name means something in this city. Legacy requires constant vigilance. Legacy. The word tasted different now. Did you ever question it? Vivienne asked suddenly. Our lifestyle, our privilege. Catherine's pause was dangerous. What brought this on? Just wondering. We have so much. Others have so little. Doesn't that ever feel wrong? Vivienne Elizabeth Hartwell. Her mother's voice went cold. Our family built this city. We earned our position through intelligence, hard work, and strategic thinking. Guilt is for people who didn't earn what they have. You were born into excellence. Don't apologize for it. What if I want to? The words escaped before Vivienne could stop them. Then you'd be spitting on generations of sacrifice, Catherine snapped. Your great-grandfather arrived in Chicago with nothing but brilliance and ambition. He created opportunity through merit. We don't owe anyone anything. Remember that. After hanging up, Vivienne opened her laptop, typed Affordable Housing Chicago into the search bar. Hours disappeared as she read articles about displacement, gentrification, families priced out of neighborhoods they'd lived in for generations. She saw herself in every development company, every luxury condo built where working-class communities used to thrive. Her phone buzzed. Bryce, dinner tonight? Morton's at 8? She stared at the message, pictured sitting across from Bryce, listening to him discuss property values and market demographics like human lives were just numbers on spreadsheets. Pictured coming home to this pristine penthouse, surrounded by expensive things that suddenly felt hollow. Then she pictured Elijah taking 2 buses home, working 2 jobs, living in a studio apartment in a neighborhood she'd probably never visited. Pictured him whispering to the universe for connection, for someone who'd see him as more than his uniform and paycheck. She'd felt that connection. Undeniable. Electric. Real. But was it enough to challenge everything she'd been taught? Everything she was? Vivienne walked to her bathroom mirror, studied her reflection. Blonde hair professionally highlighted, skin cared for by estheticians in exclusive spas, clothes that cost more than most people made in months. She'd never questioned whether she deserved any of it, had never asked who paid the real price for her privilege, until Elijah Brooks looked at her with those honest eyes and made her finally, terrifyingly see Saituo. Hello, the Shade of Love family. So happy you're here. Before we jump into the next part of the story, tell us, where are you watching from? Drop your country and state in the comments. Also, how's the story been so far? We love reading your thoughts. Yes, every single comment. And it really keeps us motivated. Let's aim for 50 comments on this video. Think we can hit it? Your support means the world, so don't forget to comment, share, and keep the energy flowing. Sunday afternoon, Vivienne did something unprecedented. She took the L train to Pilsen. No driver, no car service, just her in jeans and a simple sweater, trying to blend into the vibrant neighborhood murals and taco shops. She told herself she wasn't looking for Elijah's bookstore, but her feet found it anyway. Margins and Magic, a cozy used bookstore wedged between a Puerto Rican bakery and a community center. She almost walked past. Then she saw him through the window. Elijah sat cross-legged on the floor with a little girl, maybe 7 years old, reading aloud from a picture book. The girl, Latina, bright pink dress, was completely entranced. And Elijah did all. The voices made the story dance. His whole face transformed when he smiled at her. Gentle and patient and beautiful. Vivienne pushed the door open. A bell chimed. Elijah looked up, shock registering. Vivienne? Hi, she managed, suddenly unsure why she'd come. The little girl's mother appeared from the children's section. Late 20s, warm smile. There you are, Mija. What do we say to Mr. Brooks? Thank you for reading, the girl chirped. Anytime, Sophia, Elijah said, standing, ruffling her hair. The mother bought 3 books, and Elijah rang her up at an ancient register, chatting easily about the community center's upcoming fundraiser. When they left, silence filled the bookstore. 53-year-old Raymond Chen, the owner, emerged from the back. This her? He asked Elijah directly. Ray, the one who's got you distracted all week? Yeah, I figured. Raymond studied Vivienne with sharp eyes. You hurt him. I'll hear about it. Just so we're clear. Ray, seriously, Elijah protested, embarrassed. But Raymond wasn't done. Elijah's been working here since he was 19, puts half his paycheck toward his sister's college tuition at Northwestern, spends his Sundays reading to kids whose parents are working double shifts. So if you're slumming for a story to tell your rich friends— I'm not, Vivienne interrupted, voice firm. I'm here because I needed to see him, because I can't stop thinking about him, because everything he said Friday night was true, and I hate that it's true, and I don't know how to fix it, but I want to try. Raymond looked at Elijah, who stood frozen by the register. Your call, kid. Can I talk to you? Elijah asked Vivienne quietly. Upstairs. There's a break room. They climbed narrow stairs to a tiny room with a microwave, mini fridge, and 2 folding chairs. Elijah closed the door, leaned against it. You took the train here. I Googled Pilsen bookstores, Vivienne admitted. The store has your name on a Yelp review. Someone said you recommended the perfect book for their son. You came to Pilsen. You. He laughed, disbelief coating the sound. Do you know how many people from your world ever come here? Actually come here, not just drive through on the way to somewhere else? I'm learning, Vivienne said. How much I don't know. How much I never bothered to learn. You were right, Elijah, about everything. About how I see people, how I've been taught not to see people. He studied her face, searching for something. Why are you here, Vivienne? Really? Because that night in the lobby, I felt my soul recognize yours, she whispered. And I've been trying to talk myself out of it for a week, but I can't. Because it's real, and I don't know what to do about the rest of it. The class thing, the money thing, my family, your justified anger. But I know I can't walk away without trying. Elijah's eyes glistened. You have no idea what you're asking for. The cost of this. Then teach me, Vivienne said. Please. Monday morning, Vivienne's world struck back. She arrived at her office to find her father, 65-year-old James Hartwell, sitting in her chair. His silver hair was perfectly styled. His suit probably cost $7,000, and his expression promised consequences. Sit, he commanded. Vivienne closed her office door, remained standing. My office. My chair. Then act like it belongs to you. James stood, towering over her with the authority of 4 generations of accumulated power. Bryce called me, said you've been acting strange, declining dinners, distracted during meetings. Then I hear from Catherine that you're questioning our lifestyle. He made air quotes, dripping disdain. What's going on? Nothing that concerns you. Everything about you concerns me, James said coldly. You're not just my daughter. You're a Hartwell, the Hartwell who'll take over when I retire. Your decisions reflect on this family, this company, this legacy. Vivienne's phone buzzed. A text from Elijah. Are you okay? You seemed shaken yesterday. Her father noticed her glance at the phone. Who is he? Excuse me? I've seen that look before. Catherine had it once, junior year at Wellesley. Some boy from a state school. We handled it. James picked up a file from her desk. I can handle this too. There's nothing to handle, Vivienne lied, pulse racing. Good, because Wednesday you're having dinner with Senator Bradford's son, Cameron. 28, Harvard Law, comes from good stock. The kind of match that makes sense for someone in your position. I'm not interested in Cameron Bradford. Your interest is irrelevant, James said flatly. You're interested in maintaining what we've built. That means marrying appropriately, producing appropriate heirs, continuing appropriate traditions. Appropriate. The word tasted like poison. Define appropriate, Father. Someone from our world, James said, as if explaining to a child. Someone who understands wealth management, social positioning, legacy building. Someone whose family won't be a liability. Someone worthy of the Hartwell name. Vivienne thought about Elijah reading to Sophia, about his sister at Northwestern, about him taking 2 buses home every night while she slept in a penthouse built on assumptions that people like him didn't deserve penthouses. What if I don't care about Worthy? She asked quietly. James's face hardened. Then you're not the daughter I raised. Not the CEO I'm preparing to hand my life's work to. The Hartwell fortune isn't just money, Vivienne. It's standards. It's knowing who belongs in our circles and who doesn't. Your great-grandfather didn't claw his way up so his descendants could throw it away on inappropriate attachments. Inappropriate attachments? Vivienne repeated. You mean human beings you've decided aren't good enough? I mean people who will drag you down, James snapped. People who will leech off your success, embarrass you at social functions, make you a laughingstock among your peers. You want to save the world? Write a check to charity. But don't confuse noble intentions with relationship decisions. Those require strategy, not sentiment. He walked to the door, paused. Dinner with Cameron is Wednesday at 7. Morton's. Don't embarrass me. After he left, Vivienne sat at her desk for 20 minutes, her father's words echoing. People who will drag you down. Inappropriate attachments. Not good enough. She looked at Elijah's text again, typed, "Can I see you tonight?" His response came immediately. Always. And Vivienne realized she was choosing, right now, in this moment, between the life she'd been handed and the life her heart suddenly demanded. They met at a small cafe in Bridgeport at 9 p.m. after Elijah's first shift ended. Vivienne arrived first, nervous in jeans and a Northwestern hoodie she'd borrowed from her assistant, trying to look less like a billionaire. Elijah walked in wearing a black Henley jeans, beautiful in his simplicity. "You came," he said, sliding into the booth across from her. "I'll always come," Vivienne replied, and meant it with frightening intensity. They ordered coffee from a waitress who called Elijah honey and knew his usual. When she left, silence stretched between them until Vivienne broke it. "Tell me about your life," she said. "Really tell me, because I don't know anything, and I need to." Elijah's laugh was soft, surprised. "Where do I even start?" "Anywhere. Everywhere." So he did. He told her about growing up on the South Side, about his mother Diane, who worked 3 jobs to keep him and his sister fed after their father left, about being 12 and realizing their apartment had roaches, but other kids' houses didn't, about being 16 and getting followed in stores while white kids shoplifted without suspicion, about being talented enough for a partial scholarship to DePaul, but not wealthy enough to finish. So he worked instead. "Why 2 jobs?" Vivienne asked, throat tight. "Because my sister, Jasmine, she's brilliant, like scary smart. Got a full ride to Northwestern for computer science, but full ride doesn't cover everything. Books, food, living expenses. Our mom's still working herself to death. Someone had to help." He paused. "So I work the tower at night, the bookstore on weekends, and I don't sleep much. But Jasmine's gonna graduate debt-free, and that matters more than sleep." Vivienne's eyes burned. "My father wants me to have dinner with the senator's son Wednesday, Cameron Bradford, to discuss appropriate matches." "Of course he does," Elijah said without bitterness. "That's your world, Vivienne. Country club weddings and honeymoons in the Maldives. I get it." "I don't want Cameron Bradford," she said fiercely. "I don't want anyone my father picks because they're from good stock, like I'm some thoroughbred being bred. I want—" She stopped, terrified, to finish. "What do you want?" Elijah's voice was gentle, devastating. "You," Vivienne whispered. "I want you. I want to learn everything about you. I want to understand the world you come from because it's real, in ways my world has never been. I want to stop being the person who doesn't see people, who treats service workers like furniture, who thinks poverty is a character flaw instead of a system designed to keep some people down so others can stay up." Elijah reached across the table, took her hand. His palm was calloused from work. Hers was soft from privilege. "Do you understand what you're saying? What it would cost you?" "I'm starting to," Vivienne said. "My father would probably disown me. My mother would need therapy. My friends would gossip for months. Bryce would call me insane. And you'd do it anyway?" Elijah asked, disbelief and hope warring in his expression. "I'd do it anyway," Vivienne confirmed, "because you whispered to the universe, Elijah. And somehow, impossibly, I heard you, and I can't unhear that. I don't want to." He raised her hand to his lips, kissed her knuckles gently. "Then we're both crazy." "Completely," she agreed, smiling through tears. The waitress refilled their coffee, winked at Elijah. "About time you found a good one, baby." And sitting in that cafe in Bridgeport, drinking cheap coffee and holding hands across a chipped Formica table, Vivienne felt wealthier than she ever had in her penthouse. Wednesday at 6:45 p.m., Vivienne stood outside Morton's Steakhouse in a black cocktail dress, watching Cameron Bradford arrive in a Tesla. 31, handsome in that generic wealthy way, he kissed her cheek with the confidence of someone who'd never been rejected. "Vivienne, you look stunning," he said, guiding her inside with a hand on her lower back that felt presumptuous. Your father speaks highly of you. Says you're running the company with real vision. They were seated at the best table. Her father's usual. Cameron ordered an expensive Cabernet without asking what she wanted. He talked about his work at his father's firm, his yacht club membership, his upcoming trip to Monaco. Vivienne responded automatically, her mind 60 blocks away in a bookstore in Pilsen. So I told Senator Morrison that if he wanted our support, he'd need to reconsider his stance on that ridiculous affordable housing bill, Cameron was saying. Can't have property values tanking because every neighborhood becomes a charity case, right? Vivienne's fork froze. What did you say? The housing bill. Complete disaster. Trying to force developers to include low-income units in new construction? It's economic suicide. Your father agrees. Actually, he's donating to the opposition campaign. Something inside Vivienne snapped cleanly in half. She thought about Elijah's mother working 3 jobs. About Sophia's mother buying used books because new ones were too expensive. About families being priced out of neighborhoods by people exactly like Cameron, exactly like her father, exactly like she'd been until 10 days ago. I need to tell you something, Vivienne said, setting down her fork. Of course. Cameron smiled indulgently. I'm seeing someone I care about deeply, someone who's making me realize that everything we've been taught about who matters, who deserves opportunity, who belongs, is fundamentally wrong. Cameron's smile flickered. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that you just dismissed entire communities as charity cases without blinking, that my father thinks human worth is measured by bank accounts, that I spent 29 years believing I deserved my privilege without questioning who paid for it. Vivienne, I don't understand. The man I'm seeing is a janitor, she said clearly, loudly enough that nearby tables glanced over. He works nights cleaning office buildings. He takes 2 buses home. He's helping put his sister through college. And he's more real, more genuinely good than anyone I've ever met in our world. Cameron's face went pale, then red. You're joking. I'm not. Does your father know? Not yet, Vivienne said, standing, pulling her napkin from her lap. But he will, because I'm done pretending that my designer clothes and penthouse view make me better than someone whose labor allows my comfort. I'm done with dinners like this, with men like you, with a world that mistakes wealth for worth. She grabbed her purse, walked toward the exit. Cameron called after her. You're making a massive mistake. Your father will never allow this. Vivienne turned back. My father doesn't own me, Cameron. Neither does his money. Neither do his expectations. Outside, the November air bit cold. Vivienne pulled out her phone, called Elijah. Hey, he answered, and his voice was home. How's dinner? I just walked out, she said, laughing and crying simultaneously. I told him about you, about us, about everything. Silence. Then, Vivienne, what did you do? What I should have done a week ago, she said, hailing a cab. I chose you. I chose us. Can I come see you? I'm at the tower, working. His voice was thick with emotion. But yes, please, yes. 20 minutes later, Vivienne walked into Hartwell Financial Tower's lobby in her cocktail dress and heels, found Elijah emptying trash near the security desk. Marcus watched with wide eyes as she crossed the marble floor and kissed Elijah in front of the security cameras, in front of God and everyone, claiming him publicly and irrevocably. When they broke apart, Elijah whispered, Your father's going to see this footage. I know, Vivienne said. Let him. Thursday morning at 8 a.m., James Hartwell's assistant summoned Vivienne to his office. She arrived in jeans and a simple blouse, no makeup, no armor. Her father stood at his window overlooking the city he'd helped build, back rigid with fury. Security footage from last night made interesting viewing, he said without turning around. I'm sure it did. You kissed the janitor, in our lobby, on company cameras. Now James turned, and Vivienne had never seen him this angry. Have you lost your mind? No, Vivienne said calmly. I've found it. Don't be clever. This ends now. I don't care what rebellious phase you're going through. It's not a phase, Dad. The childhood name slipped out, softening nothing. I love him. His name is Elijah Brooks. He's 26, brilliant, kind, hardworking, and he sees me as a person instead of a portfolio. And I'm not giving that up. James's laugh was cruel. Love. You think love pays for your lifestyle? Your penthouse? Your cars? Your future? I don't care about any of that, Vivienne said, and realized she meant it. I'd give it all up tomorrow if it meant keeping him. Then you're a fool. James walked to his desk, pulled out a folder. I had him investigated. Elijah Brooks. Mother's a housekeeper. Father abandoned them. Sister at Northwestern on scholarship. He makes $32,000 annually between both jobs. No degree, no prospects, no future worth mentioning. Stop, Vivienne's voice cracked. Don't talk about him like he's a balance sheet. Everything is a balance sheet, James roared. That's what you've never understood. Life is assets and liabilities. He's a liability, a distraction, a mistake that will cost you everything you've worked for. I didn't work for any of this, Vivienne shot back. I was born into it. Big difference. Elijah actually earned every single thing he has. Can you say the same? James's hand slammed on the desk. Your great-grandfather built an empire on the backs of people exactly like Elijah's family, Vivienne interrupted. I've been reading, Dad, about Chicago's history, labor practices, housing discrimination, wage theft. The Hartwell fortune wasn't built on merit. It was built on exploitation, and I'm done pretending otherwise. Get out of my office. Gladly. Vivienne walked to the door, paused. I'm stepping down as CEO, effective immediately. Find someone who shares your values. Someone who thinks human beings are commodities. Someone who'll sleep well at night, profiting from others' suffering. You step down, I cut you off, James warned. Completely. No trust fund, no safety net, nothing. Good, Vivienne said. I don't want money earned by crushing people like Elijah. I'll make my own way. With what skills? You've never worked a real day in your life. Then I'll learn, she said. Elijah will teach me about real work, real struggle, real value. Things you never could. She left, took the elevator down 60 floors, walked out of Hartwell Financial Tower for the last time as its heir. Her phone buzzed. Elijah, where are you? Starting over, she texted back. Want to help me figure out how? Always, he replied. Come to the bookstore. Ray's hiring. Vivienne laughed, crying, and hailed a cab to Pilsen, to minimum wage and possibility. To love over legacy, to the life she'd chosen instead of the one she'd been handed. CTA. Hello, the Shade of Love family. So happy you're here. Before we jump into the next part of the story, tell us, where are you watching from? Drop your country and state in the comments. Also, how's the story been so far? We love reading your thoughts. Yes, every single comment, and it really keeps us motivated. Let's aim for 50 comments on this video. Think we can hit it? Your support means the world, so don't forget to comment, share, and keep the energy flowing. The next morning, Vivienne did something unprecedented. She posted a video on her personal Instagram, 200,000 followers, mostly business contacts and society connections, sitting in Elijah's studio apartment in Pilsen. No filter, no makeup, no script. My name is Vivienne Hartwell, she began, voice steady despite her racing heart. Yesterday, I resigned as CEO of Hartwell Financial and walked away from my family's fortune. I want to tell you why. She talked for 8 minutes. About meeting Elijah. About realizing her privilege was built on others' exploitation. About the affordable housing bill her father was fighting. The families being displaced. The workers being underpaid while executives profited. About choosing love and justice over inherited wealth. I don't know what comes next, she concluded. I'm working at a bookstore in Pilsen for $12 an hour. I'm learning what it means to actually earn my living. And I'm happy, genuinely happy, for the first time in my life, because I'm finally living according to my values instead of my bank account. The video went viral in 6 hours. Major news outlets picked it up by evening. Billionaire heiress chooses love over fortune, read one headline. Hartwell daughter renounces wealth for janitor boyfriend, said another. Her phone exploded with messages. Harper, have you actually lost your mind? Bryce, this is a publicity stunt, right? Her mother, you've humiliated us beyond repair. But there were other messages too. From people she'd never met. From working families who said she gave them hope. From young women who said she inspired them to question their own privilege. From service workers who said she finally saw them. Saturday afternoon, 50 protesters gathered outside Hartwell Financial Tower. They carried signs, "Housing is a human right," and "People over profit," and "Thank you, Vivienne." Elijah stood with her in the crowd, holding her hand as they chanted with families fighting displacement. Cameras swarmed. A reporter thrust a microphone at Vivienne. "Do you regret your decision?" "Not for a second," she said clearly. "I regret that it took me 29 years to open my eyes. I regret every conversation I had where I dismissed people's struggles. I regret not using my privilege to help sooner. But walking away from that tower, choosing Elijah, standing here, with people fighting for basic dignity, no regret at all. What about your family? My family taught me that wealth determines worth. Elijah taught me that's a lie. I know which lesson I'm keeping." That night, in Elijah's tiny apartment, one room with a pull-out couch, shared bathroom down the hall, nothing like her penthouse, Vivienne felt richer than she ever had. They ate takeout Thai food sitting on the floor, laughing about her terrible first day at the bookstore, where she couldn't work the register. "You really gave it all up," Elijah said, wonder in his voice. "I really did," Vivienne confirmed, kissing him. "Best decision I ever made." 3 months later, Vivienne stood in Margins and Magic during the community center fundraiser, watching Elijah read to a crowd of neighborhood kids. She'd learned to work the register now, could recommend books by genre, knew half the regular customers by name. Her hands had calluses from unpacking boxes. Her feet hurt from standing all day. She'd never been happier. Her apartment, a studio 2 blocks from Elijah's, 400 square feet of possibility, held secondhand furniture and thrift store clothes. She took the L train everywhere, budgeted groceries carefully, understood now what "making it stretch" actually meant. The learning curve had been steep, humbling, and absolutely necessary. "You're smiling," came a voice. Vivienne turned to see Diane Brooks, Elijah's mother, holding 2 cups of coffee. At 53, Diane worked as a hospital housekeeper, her hands weathered from decades of labor. She'd been skeptical of Vivienne at first, understandably, but had slowly warmed over weekly Sunday dinners. "I'm happy," Vivienne said simply. "My boy's happy too," Diane said, watching her son with the kids. "Hasn't stopped smiling since you walked into his life. Or should I say, since he prayed for you." Vivienne laughed. "He told you about that?" "Baby, Elijah tells me everything. The prayer, the elevator, the lobby kiss that made security gossip for weeks." Diane studied her. "You know what impresses me most? Not that you left money. That's easy to romanticize. It's that you stayed gone. 3 months, no running back when things got hard." "It has been hard," Vivienne admitted. "Learning to budget, to cook cheap meals, to fix things instead of replacing them. My feet hurt constantly. I'm exhausted by 9 p.m. But Diane, I'm not performing some role anymore. I'm just living. Really living. That's all any of us can do, sweetheart." Diane squeezed her hand. "Welcome to the real world." Later that night, Vivienne and Elijah walked along the Chicago River, bundled in thrift store coats against December cold. The city sparkled around them, beautiful and indifferent to their bank accounts. "Do you miss it?" Elijah asked quietly. "The penthouse? The money? Any of it?" Vivienne thought about her answer carefully. "Honestly, sometimes I miss the comfort. Hot showers that last forever. Not worrying about bills, good mattresses." She squeezed his hand. "But I don't miss who I was. That woman who didn't see people, who thought poverty was a moral failing, who valued portfolios over humanity. I don't miss her at all." "I'm proud of you," Elijah said, stopping to face her under a streetlight, "for choosing growth over comfort, for becoming who you were meant to be." "You taught me how," Vivienne said, rising on her toes to kiss him. "You whispered to the universe, and somehow it sent you exactly who you needed. Someone who needed saving as much as you did." "We saved each other," Elijah corrected, wrapping her in his arms. And there, on a Chicago street corner in December, a former billionaire and a bookstore clerk stood together, not despite their different worlds, but because one had been brave enough to leave hers, and the other had been brave enough to welcome her in. The universe, it seemed, knew exactly what it was doing when it answered that whispered prayer in a marble lobby 3 months ago. Some love stories start with glass slippers and castles. This one started with a mop bucket and a prayer, and turned out more magical than either of them could have imagined. The end